Okay, everyone, this is my spoiler review of Better Call Saul Season 6, Episode 10, Nippy. It's obviously a little late this week because I was on vacation. I was in San Diego. I love the San Diego Zoo. I'm giving the San Diego Zoo a 10. If you've ever been to San Diego or plan to, make sure you go to the San Diego Zoo. Getting that out of the way, I had a lot of feelings about this episode, so a lot of people want me to still do a review for it. So I'm going to do a review for it because it's a very polarizing episode, and it'd feel like a waste if I didn't talk about it. And I think you can kind of get the vibe where I'm going with this if you've watched my previous reviews and how someone like me would feel about an episode like this, because I'm a believer in all television and in film that it's not just about character study or visuals, it's everything, right? Like, great art is all of it, with plot as well. And I think sometimes in current days there's certain people who give episodes a 10 if they're just great in one of those aspects, whether it's the visuals, whether it's the plot, or it's the character work in it, that it gives a pass for everything else. And I think that happens a lot with this fan base. And I'm not saying that they don't think like the way I'm thinking, a lot of them do, but there's a lot of people that give every episode a 10 because one of those things is just working really well, and then they go, wow, another masterpiece. It's like every single episode is a masterpiece to these people. Now, I see the point where people get mad, where people are just calling it a filler, and there's those very two polarizing angles about this episode. I kind of lay somewhere towards the filler, but in the middle, not as harsh as that. I think that what's frustrating about this episode with the Gene timeline is that the big glaring just off key for the Saul is that Saul casts people great. The show is so good at casting everybody. And that even goes to Marion here as Carol Burnett. It's perfect. But this recast of Jeff, because the original actor was busy with something else. I don't know what was so busy that he wouldn't do Saul, but I was just kind of flabbergasted how different he came off. Like, who they recast just didn't feel like the old Jeff really that much at all. And that really kind of threw me for a loop, where there's even people saying they had to like look up, wait, who is this character? And then finding out, watching old clips of the original Jeff, it just feels like a completely different person. That really took away a lot from this episode, because then I didn't actually feel that transfer over from the previous scenes we had with Gene and Jeff to this. It felt like just a new character introduced, which I did not like. I also did not like that people are comparing this to the episode of The Fly, which is considered the most filler episode of Breaking Bad, but it's actually one of my favorite episodes of Breaking Bad, because, yes, it's a character-centered episode with Walt and Jesse, but what Walt is thinking about, the guilt he's feeling, is a big story plot point of the show, where this doesn't have that to me. You cannot justify spending 15 minutes in black and white just to confirm to us that Saul, as Gene, is still in it for the con. He's still that guy deep down. We didn't need 50 minutes for that. You can do that way shorter. And we didn't need to see this con go over, and over with watching the cameras, watching the guy from Parks and Rec, playing the humor that's the actor from Parks and Rec, constantly eating all these Cinnabons. It was just too much and redundant. And you kind of were just like, why am I watching this where we are, where we've seen everything that's happened this season go up and down, crazy things happen, then it takes this break, and just to get the information that he's still in it with the con. And yeah, you can look it up as setting up wherever they're going to go with these final 3 episodes, which is still a giant mystery, but I don't think you needed 50 minutes for it. And I think clearly, if you're looking through what you're seeing here, that they were ordered a lot of episodes for the season because it's the final season. AMC wants to make money, right? I think that the writers just had to kind of fill in some space here. And yes, so maybe it is a little bit of a filler in some sense. Not totally all of it, again, because we learn more stuff about Gene, but it's one of those things where it feels a lot like the episode with the Howard boxing match, which is still my least favorite of the season. But this is close. Like, this was incredibly disappointing. I think that it's interesting. What I'm saying, too, about the Fly episode is that there wasn't that weight here for Gene yet. We don't know if maybe he was thinking something about Kim during this episode. Anything, you have more weight in a type of episode like this that's more character-based. That wasn't here. You can't sell it on him and Jeff together. Jeff, we've just really gotten to know this new version of Jeff anyway. It doesn't feel like the old Jeff. So it just doesn't work for me. And I think that this show has that issue. I think if you look at the end of the day, comparing it to great shows of past, people could say whatever they want, that, oh, it's still setting up, you just gotta be patient. I don't have to be patient. I just want good television. I know, like I always say, they're gonna deliver. Trust me, the next episode is called Breaking Bad. It's probably gonna be awesome. Then the one after that's Waterworks is called, and that's Vince Gilligan directing and writing again, and that's the penultimate episode. I'm so hyped for that. It's probably gonna be amazing. I'm not worried about that. I'm talking about Saul's always been this way. It has some amazing episodes, but it has a lot of stuff that's very flat in between. And I think people like to excuse that, thinking that it was so necessary to happen to get that big payoff. But I disagree. There's many shows out there. There's many seasons of shows that whole way straight through, you don't lose that engagement in it, that grip. Just look at a show like Severance this year. You didn't feel once any kind of feeling where you're just like, okay, looking at your watch and just learning more about characters without any serving of the plot. So that's just an excuse. And people who say that just don't know how to objectively look at an episode of a show every time differently, which I try to do. Is that I love Better Call Saul. I love this show. But I objectively every time try to just look at it as what I'm feeling, what I'm seeing, not saying I'm going in to hate it or I'm going in to love it. But I think a lot of people in this fan base are really going in to love it every single time. I mean, it's crazy that people are calling this episode a masterpiece. I don't know. Then everything's a masterpiece, I guess. So I am disappointed in it. I think that it's just bizarre that they chose to put this episode now. But again, I think if I'm going to guess, because episode's titled Breaking Bad next week, that maybe we're going to have Saul in this black and white timeline for a little bit in the beginning with Gene, and it's going to transfer back to the color, because I still feel like they're planning to do more with this Jeff character, but we'll see. I'm giving this one a 6.8 because at the end of the day, it's still Saul, so it's not bad, right? And I did like the moment where Gene's looking at the colorful clothes and he's tempted by his past with Saul. I like that. And I think that it, at the end of the day, is just a little better than some of the garbage we've seen on a lot of TV right now. So it's a 6.8 in my eyes, but definitely the second weakest episode of the season after still the one with the boxing match, Black and Blue. Did not like that one at all. But where it is really hurts too. And again, this recasting of Jeff, and also at one point just feeling like you're watching a Cinnabon ad at this point. So let me know what you guys thought, though. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I read every comment. I try to respond as many as I can. Give me your theories for this episode titled Breaking Bad next week. Are we going to see Jesse and Walt here? What's going to happen? I'd love to hear what you guys think. And please give me your thoughts down below about this episode. And please be civil about it. It's just a television show. Like, we don't have to get personal about anything. It's just everyone has the right to their own opinion. Just do it civil. And I appreciate all of you. And I'll see you next time.